All right, you guys, there's a whole bunch of stuff happening all at once, and I'm trying to get all of this done. But sometimes things just have to happen last minute. And for example, today I'm recording an episode that I'm pulling out of thin air that's got to be posted tomorrow. So I have no idea. I have no idea what this podcast episode is going to be about. I don't know. We're going to dive into it and we're going to find out together. So shooters, are you ready? Stand by. All right, as you guys could probably tell by that ridiculous intro, I am very short on time the last couple of weeks. I have all these episodes recorded previously from like the summer that I've been sitting on, but they're all really great guests, and I want to give them due diligence and like give them really good time of promotion for their episodes so that they can promote, so that they can be like excited about it. And I have not had time to even dive in and start putting that stuff together, let alone get the marketing materials together, just because it's been crazy. I've been all over the country. I've been shooting some really fun content with some really great people. But then as soon as I get back, I'm diving straight into post work because like a few days later, I'm back on a plane going to who knows where, shooting more stuff. So it's been super awesome and fun, but my time has been extremely limited to be able to get anything done for Guns and Cameras, really, let alone the Guns and Cameras Awards, which I'm still trying to promote and do. I'm working on like a backup strategy and plan for GCAs just in case like it doesn't really go the way I had kind of planned. Because I've got all these, like, check this out, you guys. Sidebar. I've got all these coins. I got these super dope coins. I've got first, second, and third awards for every category listed on the website. That's a lot of coins. It was like 130 of them. And my concern right now is like if I don't get people to like enter those categories, then I'm going to be sitting on like 130 really dope coins with the 2025 date on the back that I'm like, crap. And they were expensive. It cost me about $1,000 to make these, $800. So I think what my backup plan, sidebar, you guys talking about GCAs, my backup plan is that if I don't get enough people to submit or to enter to like really give those away, is I'm going to get with the people that have volunteered to be judges, and I'm going to say, here's some categories. Go out onto Instagram and find people in your circle that you think have met the bar for that, and we're just going to gift them the award. We're going to send them a message and be like, hey, you've been selected for a GCA award. Here it is. And we're just going to do it that way. And well, maybe we'll open it for suggestions too from like peer review and be like, hey, who in your circle do you think is deserving of a gold GCA award for videography or whatever? Which the more I'm thinking about it, I'm like, that would be kind of fun to just like surprise people, right? And be like, hey, we selected you. We looked at your stuff and we thought it was worthy, and here you go. So that's going to be kind of the backup plan. But I'm hoping that, again, we have until, the end of December 30 to get submissions. So I'm still hoping that kind of plan pays off. But if not, you know what? The first one is always the hardest, and we'll just try again next year, right? In the grand scheme of things, paying $800 to gift a bunch of really dope coins to people is, it's a tax write-off. So we're just going to look at it that way. It's really not that much money. We'll get it sorted. But anyway, last minute episode of Guns and Cameras. This is episode, I don't even know what episode it is. 33, I think. Actually, that's fitting. Episode 33. Let's look it up. YouTube.com. You guys, tells you how disorganized I am. You guys, Guns and Cameras, click on your channel. We're going to click on videos. We are on Josh Scott was last week, and that was what the frick, Josh? You should put it in the title. Where is it? Is it not even on the thumbnail? That's how small the thumbnails are. Sorry, guys. 32. Yeah, we're on 33. This is episode 33. Episode 33 of Guns and Cameras is going to be called Last Minute Stuff. Because we're super last minute. Although, let's just see. I was on YouTube. What was that up there? I'm curious. Oh, it's gone now. We lost it. I don't know. I saw like a Disney thing, and I was like, is there going to be a new Disney film that we can talk about on this podcast? I don't know. Last minute stuff. Jehoshaphat, you guys. What do we want to talk about? Last minute film production. Tips and tricks. We could ask ChatGPT, but I don't want to dive into the AI brain because it's AI. What do we got going on? So this is why I've been so crazy busy. So recently, it's been a slow summer, if I'm being totally honest with you guys, from the video production, photography production standpoint. The slowest summer I've ever had. And I don't know if you guys can relate, especially if you're working in the film photo world, content creation world. I think there was a number of contributing factors. The economy, the rollout of AI, just freaking oversaturation of the content in the market. Could be just a shrinking and a flattening of the amount of professional content and how it is relevant or irrelevant. I think there's a lot of contributing factors to why it was super slow. Could have been more people wanted to take vacations, and that kind of offsets everything. I know for sure that the gun industry is struggling with respect to making sales, just because like we're just in this kind of time of peace. There's not like a lot of things that really are going to drive the sale of firearms. A lot of weird gun laws, all kinds of other crazy stuff. So I think there's a number of contributing factors to why it's been the slowest summer that I've ever had. But it definitely put us into a weird position. And then all of a sudden it was like, man, coming off of a really slow summer, I'm working on trying to fire up like different initiatives, punching into different markets, trying to shoot my own documentaries, trying to stay proactive, with the guns and cameras thing, GCA awards. But then all of a sudden we go slam into like September, and it's like, boom, all of a sudden it's like, hey, I need work. Hey, I need work. Hey, I need work. And this is common, right? Like this is not uncommon to have slow periods where like this first and second quarters are really slow, and then the third and fourth quarters are crazy. But here we go, boom, full throttle into some pretty crazy stuff. So I've been to New Hampshire, I've been to Texas, I'm going back to New Hampshire, I've been to SoCal. We've been all over Minnesota, some crazy places. It's been super fun, but in the midst of that, you're constantly like, I'm home for maybe a couple of days and I have to edit, and then I'm back on the road again for another shoot. And you get into this constant like cycle of production, which is really cool because you start to, when you get into those cycles, you have the opportunity to really cultivate and develop your machine of creativity, right? Not only is your brain like you're thinking about creative ideas, your equipment is also like evolving. You're realizing like, I'm stripping out dead, useless weight, right? I don't need this. I've been on all these shoots and I haven't used it, so that's coming out of the kit. So it's like, it's a really cool time to be able to really self-evaluate, your strengths and where you could work out a little bit more as a creative. Where am I going with this? Last minute production, creativity, right? It's something that a lot of us fear. It's this idea of having the perfect shoot is kind of set on a pedestal. And I'm generalizing here because I'm forecasting my own feelings, where my perspective or my thought of how professional film is always run is very organized. You have pre-production, you have your production and post-production, and within those three buckets you have this systems and structures and organization that help allow for like everything to flow well, the creative concept to be captured, everything to be done exactly well. But we're people and we're creatives, and so there's a lot of room for chaos to happen within all of those things, like weather windows, illnesses, life circumstances and events, funding, all these different things, technology, equipment failures, all this kind of stuff, that there's a lot of room for chaos to come in and just like take your perfectly structured production and rip it to pieces. And how can you, as the visionary, maintain control of the thing so that you have a product at the end that you're proud of? And that is something that maybe we can unpack a little bit. Like my frame of mind, my mindset has always been understanding that I am in complete control, even in the midst of chaos. And like, here's a story. For example, I'm in I am a BFA, or a Bachelor of Fine Arts student in a visual communication design program in college, and we have a professor. This is my it's not capstone. What is it? It's like composition, print layout and composition class, I think, something like that. But what we would have to do inside of this class is every week we would get in and we would have to take, he first had us start with just shapes of varying weight of grays. So no colors. We'd have an 11 by 17 artboard up in our InDesign software, and we would have to take 12 or 15 different squared shapes of like a lighter gray, darker grays, right? Different sizes or whatever. And we would have to lay these shapes out on this 11 by 17 white artboard in a way that was composition, like was visually appealing, right? So it's all about composition and controlling where the eye goes inside of this artboard, just using grayscale, blacks, grays, whites, shapes, etc. It's a really good exercise if you want to learn more about composition, because it helps you understand that you as the designer are the one that is in complete control of the user experience and the ingestion of that content for your viewer, which was my key takeaway from that program. So we would lay all these things out, and what we would have to do is then print them out, and we would put them up on the wall, and our professor would come through with a big red fat Sharpie pen, and he would just obliterate everybody's work. No, stone cold, freaking coming through, didn't care if your feelings. He made so many people cry, both guys and gals in that class. And he would ask you, like, why did you put this here? Why did you put this here? Why this shape here? Why did you choose this as your overall composition? And he would just pick you to pieces. But what I took away from that is that I'm the kind of person that I enjoy that kind of challenge. I like my work being challenged. I like to have my weaknesses exposed. I like to have somebody come up and be like, let's tear your stuff to bits. Because the more that happens, the more I'm refined as a creator and the better I become in my work. And so he would do this. He would just destroy everybody. But what I took away from that is like, it was better to have an answer, even if you're pulling it out of nowhere, right? Where it was like, there is no such thing as an accident when it is a designed piece of content. Like we would, the art department and the design department would clash because they don't see graphic design as art, right? And my rebuttal to them was like, not all, what was it I would say? It was like, not all design is art, but all art is designed, or something like that, where it's like the design applications, whether it's art or graphic design, it is still by design, right? Because that's what artists have been chasing for years. They've been chasing, like, that's why Impressionist was so, the Impressionist movement was so big, was that like artists have been chasing this, like this type of art that has not been influenced by human emotion or feeling. It's such a weird thing to me, where like they're trying to be like, let chaos and nature do the art. But I'm like, but because you've built the machine that then is going to splatter the paint, you are still the designer of the chaos, right? So even the chaos is by design. And it's just so funny how artists think. But from a graphic design standpoint, it was like, I am in control. I am always in control. Whether I am or not, it is by design. And that is how I approach just about everything. So when it comes to last minute filmmaking or production, the first thing that I know emphatically is that the content is going to be good, because I am the one that's in control, right? You could have whatever circumstances are happening, bad weather, good weather, no talent, some talent, broken gear, not broken gear, whatever. Like, I know 100% that I'm going to deliver a quality, high level package of content that's usable for my client, regardless of circumstances and scenarios, because I've been through these experiences where it's like, number one, I'm in control. And what do I know? If I'm in control, I know it's going to be good. And that's not arrogance, that's confidence, right? And I would hope that you guys as creatives or potential marketers or whomever, if you're listening to this podcast, would be encouraged to start looking at your scenarios and being like, where are you where are you giving up control over your final product to chaos? Because where chaos rules, there cannot be, what is the, let me look it up before I start quoting. Where chaos rules, is that even a thing? It feels like it's a thing. Where chaos rules, quote. Let's see if it comes up. Where chaos rules, blah, 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 blah. There cannot be, where chaos rules, there cannot be peace. Is that it? Sure. Sure, and we can substitute peace with just order, right? Where chaos rules, there cannot be order. Quoted by somebody. I didn't take the time. Right now it's by me, quoted by Josh. Where chaos rules, there cannot be order. And let's circle back here. So where are you allowing, or where are you giving up control of your creative projects to chaos, which is then influencing your response to your client? Because at the end of the day, you cannot go to your client, right? Stand in front of them, put up your work, and then say, well, here it is, and it's bad because, because of this and because of that and because of this. And it's like, no, it's bad because you allowed chaos to rule in your creative process. You did not take control. And that means it's your fault, right? And what we are really bad at in our culture right now is taking the responsibility for our actions. We really like to blame chaos and say there's a whole bunch of reasons why it's bad. But at the end of the day, and I'm sorry if this is harsh, if the content is because you failed. It's because you screwed up. You're the guy with the camera. You're the person with the lights. You're the one that took on the project. It was your creative. If it flops, it's your fault. I take that to heart every time. And if it is bad, if it is in fact really bad, I will go to the client and I will say, hey, it's bad. I screwed up, and I will apologize, and we'll go from there, right? But the first off, going into those projects, chaos or no chaos, failure is never an option for me. Like, we will get creative and I will over communicate. So if in the moment, that's your opportunity, when you're in the moment shooting it in whatever chaos is happening, you go to the client and you explain the need for the pivot, right? So let's say you had originally planned and you pitched this whole package. I'm like, we're going to do this, 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 and this. We're going to capture this, A, B, and C. This is what the deliverables are going to look like, given optimal weather, talent, gear, everything, right? And then I sometimes will have contingencies baked into the pre-production. So if I'm looking at weather and there's even a little bit of a chance that if we're shooting outside and the weather's going to turn south, I say, here's our contingency for bad weather, right? And I pitch that to the client. In the moment, client's on set, things are going wrong, batteries are taking a dive, maybe an SD card's not working, lens just got broke, talent is sick and can't make it. Like, as these things are unfolding in the moment, that is your opportunity to go to your client and manage the situation and say, we're totally in control. Here's what's going wrong. We have this issue, but here's our solution. We have a contingency for this. Weather is bad. It's gone bad. So our contingency is we're going to move inside. We're going to shoot the same scene under this lighting. Like, you are in control at all times. This is what's going to make you look like the best videographer, content creator, person ever, is that even in the midst of chaos, you are totally you're in control of the chaos. And you're over communicating. You're communicating those problems. It's like when dudes, like, have you seen those memes out there when you're like, you're the wedding videographer and you forgot to hit record and you missed the whole scene and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, they're like, you're biting the nails and you're like, oh my gosh, how am I going to solve this problem? How am I going to tell the client? Go tell the client, hey, I know you really wanted that. I mean, events, this is why I don't like shooting like weddings and stuff, because going to a bride on her wedding day and be like, hey, the kiss, I missed it. Right? Like, nobody wants to tell a bride that on her wedding day. But sometimes being honest and being upfront and being in control is a great tool for you, rather than providing a video and the bride goes later like, hey, where's the kiss at? And you go, oh, I didn't get it. And then like, there's no way you can fix that now, because it's been a couple of weeks since the wedding. She's not in the dress, trying to recreate that moment. You're not at the venue. It's stupid. So what you should do in that scenario take control of the situation. Crap, I forgot to hit record, or crap, the battery died, or crap, the memory card's full, and I missed this event that's important. You go back after the fact, you pull them aside, and you say, "Hey, listen, guys, I'm really, really sorry, but we had a malfunction. I wasn't able to get the kiss, but here's my solution to that problem. I'm going to take you guys out. We're going to do this really private thing, and we're going to recreate that moment, right, as best as we can, and we're going to substitute that in there, and it will create this dream space or whatever that makes it seem like when you went in for the kiss, were teleported to this other area, and then you had this magic moment alone with this epic kiss, right? And then we're going to put that back in there. I'm really sorry I missed the actual moment, but we do have a solution for the video." That is the kind of approach you need to take to these problems. Don't try to be ashamed or embarrassed about it. If you let them find out after, that's what makes you look not trustworthy and kind of shady. In the moment, you are in control of the chaos. Chaos controller. That's your new title. So how does this pertain to last minute filmmaking? Well, you know that you are the controller. You're the chaos controller. So that means that you have nothing to be stressed about in the middle of last minute production, because you know that if you have X, Y, and Z in a box of gear with you, could be at the very minimum, right? And think about your equipment. We're going to take a tangent here and we'll circle back. Think about your equipment. What do you really, really only need, bare minimum, to capture a great video? Like, realistically, what is the bare minimum? For me, I just need a camera and a lens. That's it. One battery, a camera, a lens, and an SD card, and I got you, right? We'll get good stuff. That is the absolute bare minimum. So going into any scenario, when you're thinking about what gear do I need to buy, what do I need to pack, last minute or otherwise, you know for sure that all you're bringing is a camera, a lens, a battery, and an SD card. That's all you need. And that's really it. Like, there was one day I had a shoot. It was kind of, we had all these different technical things that we wanted to capture, and my gear pile of what I was trying to pack was getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. And here's the thing. You want to talk about being a chaos controller. The more equipment you bring, you're inviting more chaos, because the more stuff you have, the more systems you got to have batteries for, power solutions for, you got to understand how to rig up and equip and use. You're inviting more opportunities for chaos to rule, right? Because what happens if you have a very limited time window to capture a certain moment, and you're having a piece of gear that's kind of fidgety and janky, and if it's not perfect, then it's not going to run for you. That's probably not a great equation for success, because you have a risky piece of gear in a low time window for capture. The probability of that gear not working and you missing the window is very high, right? So it's risk assessment and making smart decisions in those moments. Like, for example, story time with Josh. SHOT Show 2024, I think, or 23. SHOT Show 2023. Pretty sure it was 23. Yeah. No, 24. So SHOT Show 24. I was invited. I was going to the Burn Pit party that agency and a number of other brands host each year at SHOT Show. We had done this big kind of collaborative project, because this is when Genesis Arms was going down. We were meeting with Ronan. We were in Boise. We were kind of Cody and I were kind of flies on the wall for this shoot between a number of brands down in Boise, and we just happened to go down there. And our objective to be on the shoot was to get with Tulam and Ronan and capture some content of him, like, one, get him on the Gen 12 platform, see what he thought, and then capture some content with him in full kit running a Gen 12. That was really what we were after. But we ended up like having a great time, and we were able to support their crew and team, because there was some illness that came in. Like, their entire team got sick. Everybody got sick day 2 of the shoot. Cody and I were supposed to leave, but I was there with my gear, and I was talking to Josh at Hollow Sun, and I was like, he asked me, "Hey, can you run camera for the second day?" And I'm like, I looked at Cody, and Cody's like, "Yeah, let's do it." And so I jumped on camera, and we shot all of the second day. Super cool. But what ended up happening was that whole thing happened, and then, SHOT Show 24 rolls around, and I'm going to the Burn Pit thing. They know I'm going, and Michael at agency was like, "Hey, do you want to shoot video in the helicopter of the minigun?" Because every year they have this, from I forget what the name of the helicopter. It's like gunship helicopters or whatever, gunship whatever. Anyway, minigun shooting an exploding target, and I was like, sure, dope, that sounds great. And I knew beforehand, like they told me I was going to do this before coming down for SHOT Show, so I packed. Like I had just built the Creator Scorpion rig. I think they call it the Scorpion or the Octopus or something like that, where you basically have a shoulder-mounted gimbal with an FX3 on it. That they used. Everybody was all about them because when the Creator movie had rolled out earlier that year or the year before, that was what they used, was some sort of crazy looking shoulder mounted gimbal rig with an FX3 to shoot a lot of that film. So I was like, I want to build one. I built it, put the whole thing together, and then I had this like in my head, I'm like, I'm gonna be in this helicopter shoulder mounted gimbal rig, like getting all this dope minigun footage. And I brought the whole thing in my backpack. I packed it out to the burn pit like party, and I go and I look at the helicopter, and I'm looking at the inside. I'm like, it's kind of small in here. It's not a lot of room. Door's going to be open. There's going to be a lot of air moving, a lot of motion with the helicopter. And I was like, I'm not going to do it. I scrapped it. Like I decided at the end of the day that I trusted my ability to do stable handheld footage with a small package over all of this extra equipment. So what I ended up doing was like, I just put all that stuff away. I pulled out my FX3 body, threw a small rig wooden handle on the side, a lens, and that was it. That was all I took up with me. And look, like the footage is not like, that video did fairly well. It's not like it's, cinema by any means, but I know that it was a lot better the way that I shot it just by hand than if I had brought that whole nother rig. Hey, you guys, we are halfway through this week's episode of Guns and Cameras, and that means it's time for me to tell you it's been brought to you by 1156 Productions and by Tokens of Valor. Tokens of Valor is my boutique ballistic jewelry company where I take really cool things like brass casings and copper from bullets, and I take sterling silver and put them all together to create one-of-a-kind, hand-forged, wearable works of art. If you're interested in having a piece made for you, reach out to me at Tokens of Valor on Instagram, and we'll get something started for you. I'm working on a website for that, so that'll be done soon, but it's not quite done yet, so when it is, you'll know it, I promise. Also, you guys, we have a website now for Guns and Cameras. It is gunsandcameras.io. On that website, you will find all kinds of fun things like links to previous episodes, merchandise, stickers, t-shirts, sweatshirts, all that kind of stuff. You'll also find the portal and entry rules for the Guns and Cameras Awards for 2025. If you want to get entered, just follow the stuff on there and submit your work for review by your peers. It'll be awesome. You might win a gold, silver, or bronze Guns GCA. These are the awards right here for a number of different categories. The first entry for everybody is free. Subsequent entries do have a small fee. That fee is going towards funding the event, paying for the coins. They were kind of expensive, and hopefully building the platform and making room for some cool stuff in 2026. Anyway, you guys are awesome. Thanks for hanging out and listening to this very thrown together, super last minute episode of the Guns and Cameras podcast, talking all about being the manager and the controller of chaos inside of your film production projects. I hope it's valuable information. Hey, and it is almost, no kidding you guys, look at this. Should we wait around for a minute in the ad section for it to be 11:56? I don't know. Right now it's 11:55. We are so close. Nah. Anyway, you guys enjoy the rest of this week's episode of Guns and Cameras. So, it was the right call, right? Because at the end of the day, I knew 100%, right, that with a very small time window, it's not like if once they run that minigun and that ammo is gone, that helicopter is flying off the X. It's done. It's over. There's no retakes, right? And so I know 100% that with just a camera, a battery, and a lens, and an SD card, I can capture good footage. I know that. Right? There's going to be, and it's a very small window of risk. Like unless something really wrong happens, like I drop the camera out of the helicopter, I'm guaranteed to get good footage. And so that was like one of those risk assessments where I was like, this Scorpion rig is cool, but it's too janky. and it's big and bulky and heavy, and I'm not maybe going to be able to move the way I want to move inside that helicopter. So, but with my arms, I can move just about anywhere. So with a small light camera. So that was easy decision, right? But that's where your decision making has to be is in last minute. Being able to be flexible is being able to make those smart decisions. Yeah, sure, you brought all that gear down and maybe you were talking it up to the client that you have all this expensive stuff. But at the end of the day, whether you have it or not, how is that going to impact the quality of the footage? And is it worth the risk, right? And here's another example. I had just bought the Trinity arm tilt-a-float thing back when the Ronin 3s came out, and they had this whole new like gimbal system that they were dropping. And I brought it down to a shoot, and I was trying to get it, we were doing a sunrise scene, and I packed this thing in there, and I'm like, this thing sucks. Like, I can't get it, there's too many things that can go wrong, and I don't feel like I'm in control. So ended up not using it at all. I still don't use it. It's sitting right back here. I think it's right there. So if anybody wants a Tilta poor man's Trinity arm, the Tilta float system for their Ronin, that you give me a call, because you can have, I'll sell it to you for a really decent price. Big waste of money for me, not my style of filmmaking. But that is the ultimate goal. If you want to know when you feel like you've arrived as a professional, it's when you can confidently walk into any scenario and say, I can guarantee you the results you want. Good footage. You're going to get usable stuff. That's when you've arrived. And really, you don't need all the fancy stuff to be able to do that, right? At the end of the day, if you understand and know that all you need is the bare minimum is a camera and your ability to capture and your eye, right? Then everything else about the equipment, when you buy it, becomes a lot easier to make those decisions. Now, when I buy a piece of equipment, I'm buying it because I'm asking the question, is this fixing a problem for me? Do I have a pain point in my process? And is buying this piece of equipment going to solve that problem and fix that pain point and make me better, right? Is it going to make me more efficient? Because a lot of what I do, because I travel almost all the time, I rarely shoot in my hometown. So almost all of my kit has to fit into 4 bags. I'm always looking for equipment that is lightweight and efficient. It's all about being able to, build quickly and tear down quickly and promote flexibility inside of very small time windows. Because it's that equation. It's like that triangle equation where you have time, quality, and cost, and your decision making is going to put you anywhere. You can pick any 2, but it's going to impact the third, right? You can't have all of them. And so trying to operate in the middle of that pyramid is where I try to live, and where you should try to live. But it all depends on, again, your style and your niche that you've chosen. If you have the ability and the time to build out these big projects, by all means, right? But at the very base, at the very core of your identity as a content creator, videographer, photographer, cinematographer, if I could gift you anything in this last minute discussion for this last minute podcast episode in this crazy season, is that you would just get that level of confidence that you understand that at the very bare minimum you can deliver usable content with just a very small kit, right? And then everything else from there become a chaos controller, right? Because that will change your whole approach to how last minute stuff happens. I very rarely get stressed at all when it comes to content creating things. For example, the shoot we're prepping for this coming week, there's a lot. We have a very small window of time. We got 2 days. It's a very niche type of, the theme is very niche. The story is very niche. What does that mean? It means that we have to, because we're shooting in the dark, right? We're shooting everything at night. That in and of itself is challenging, because here's the thing about shooting in the dark. It's never really actually in the dark. You want to talk about lighting, skills, and anything. Think of any movie you've ever seen that has nighttime shots in it. There is more lighting and gaffing and rigging that goes into properly lighting and exposing and shooting stories that happen in the dark than just about any other scenario, period. That's the first thing you should know about filmmaking. Any movie you ever watch, there is lights being used, even if it's in broad daylight, right? There is, and if you don't believe me, just go look behind the scenes, look for gaffing examples of like daylight scenes. I mean, we're talking about giant scrims, overhead softbox, like huge stuff, to create the scenes and control the lighting so that everything's properly exposed according to the director's vision. So first thing to know, shooting in the dark, it's never really in the dark. You have to have lights. And not like one light. It's, I mean, depending on your vision, but if you're shooting wide, right? Because that's the other thing you got to think about is how big is your scene, right? If you're shooting a small scene with one talent in the dark with one light, totally cool. You can get away with a lot. But if you add more talent, more people, wide, ultra wides, right? Like you have to light that entire environment. So if you're shooting a house in the dark, you have to light the house, right? Like you have to have practicals inside, practicals outside. You have to have your primary light source, like guaranteed moonlight. Actual moonlight is not enough, so you have to simulate moonlight. You got to do a lot of stuff. So it's challenging, right? Technically, when you have a lot of lights that need to be rigged, that takes time. You know, each scene could take an hour to set up lights and to set cameras and to set, and then to do run throughs with talent. So there are all these things, these contributing factors that are going to make the timeline expand or contract given what you're trying to accomplish within a small window of time. And so that is one thing that is like going into that scenario, knowing it's a nighttime shoot, knowing we have a lot of people, a lot of hands on set, we have a fairly extensive cast, we have limited crew, limited equipment, limited time, shooting in the dark. Like there are lots of opportunities for chaos to come in, but then how can we as chaos controllers come in and say we're going to get the content we need even in the midst of that? Because then you start making smart decisions. Where can you give and where can you take on your approach to what can be accomplished within your window of time and what can't be, and then making the decision of like, we're going to cut that, we're going to cut that, we're going to cut that, and we're going to stick with this vision. So in order to get you the best content we can and to tell the story correctly. Because here's the thing, if I could leave you with another point, it's that content and story is king above everything else. That's why stuff that is shot badly still holds up today, is because the story took priority over everything else. That if you're going to compromise on something vision-wise, compromise on the gear, compromise on the lighting, compromise on all the other stuff. But if the story is good, right, then you're going to want, that is locked in. It's like, we need this scene because it's going to make the story. That has to take priority. If there are supplemental scenes that I mean, you kind of, as you grow in this, you start to look and see like, hey, do we really need, like, does this particular story arc reinforce our primary plot line, or is it just kind of like an expander for context? And if it's an expansion for context, when you're looking at stuff to cut, you can cut those, right? Because it's just going to add time to the final edit. So it's like, it's getting to that point where you can start making those kind of decisions and start understanding. I mean, like, I understand what the ask is and the vision is, but here are our constraints. Here are our limitations. These are our hard boundaries and cutoffs that we need to hit, right? Whether it's a hard stop for time of the location or whatever. It's like, those are your, establishing those points first, and then figuring out where you can be flexible in the midst of that is what's going to help you manage the chaos. All right, where do we go from now? And that comes through all the way into the post-processing side. There's a lot of things you can do to get creative in post. There was one guy, again, story time with Josh. We were looking for a production assistant or somebody we could bring on. I was working at a marketing agency as the production manager at the time, and we had, we were looking to bring on an intern or a PA, somebody that we could pay, minimum wage to come in and teach and help us with the load we had. And we were looking through resumes, and there's one kid that submitted a reel, and I was watching this reel. And one thing that stood out to me was that what this kid was exceptionally good at was compositing. And when we brought him in for the interview, I asked him, I'm like, so why did you do this here? Right. And it wasn't like, and the composites were good. You could still tell that they were composites. Right. But I asked him, I'm like, why did you do that? And he's like, well, I had one shot that wasn't exactly usable. It was kind of a little bit out of focus, but I needed to use it. And so I didn't have an alternative shot. So I brought in other elements to kind of cover that up, but then enhance. And I was like, that is something that a lot of people don't think about doing inherently. We scrap, like if it's not usable or garbage, we either keep it as complete garbage in the project, which I don't recommend, or we scrap it, which I also, which would be the better alternative than keeping it unchanged. But then we rarely think about using our skill set and our tools at our disposal to fix bad shots with composite imagery. What does that mean? It means, like, for example, AI is a great tool for this. AI is actually a great tool for composite imagery. So is like rotoscoping. After Effects is going to be one of your best friends. You can do it within DaVinci Resolve. But basically what we're talking about is adding elements, or like doing a sky replace, or bringing in like and placing objects into foreground or background to make the scene a little bit more interesting, and then blending those things in so that it becomes usable, or covering up a mistake. Like, for example, let's say you had a nice field and for whatever reason there's a lamppost in the middle of the field, and you're like, I don't want a lamppost there. I would love for there to be a tree there. So instead what you do is you keep that shot, and you could either rotoscope and mask out the lamppost, which is probably what most of us would do, or bring in a tree, pop that tree over top of it, give it a little like Gaussian blur or whatever, if it's foreground, to push it into foreground or background, and then all of a sudden there's no more lamp, right? Like, and maybe it makes it more interesting. We remove a lot more than we add to scenes. And so that was one thing that I thought of, like on the post-production side, is like, don't just think about looking at things you need to take out, but also start looking at things that you can add. And it's really bothering me because if you notice this right up here, I think that is my film hood. And I think right down here, what happens if I do this? Oh, look at that. It got twisted. Click. Fixed. That's embarrassing, you guys. But see, creative problem solver. We just fixed our problem with our weird little fringing there. Vignetting. And so that's something that I would encourage you to do as well in the midst of trying to manage the chaos, is just think about, get creative about how you can fix things, and get outside of what is it in neuroscience? They talk about the paths that we travel the most become the main highways for how we think about things. And as we grow older, we become more repetitive in our processes. Start thinking outside of those boxes and think about creative ways to fix problems in your footage. Obviously, capturing and getting it in pre and fixing it in pre is going to be the best scenario. Like, again, you've identified a problem, like you missed the kiss. Go back and fix it in the moment, before the dress is, like, before everything is miles down the road and you can't go back, right? Try to fix the problem right away if you can. And if you absolutely can't, then your next line of thought is going to be, how can I fix it creatively on the post-production side? Anyway, one of the things we also do really badly these days is trying to shoot medium wide to ultra wide for vertical editing. I get it. I consume content on my phone just like everybody else does. But what I don't like is I hate vertical format. I think it's the least interesting way of consuming content ever. Excuse me. And then what we do is we make a primary, and we say, like, we need to capture every shot framed up for vertical. And I'm like, what I try to do is I will shoot things twice. I would rather have multiple takes and each take be framed or oriented for the specific content than try to capture everything in a wide and then crop in post, or punch in and rely on resolution of the sensor. Just because you are, again, talking about inviting opportunities for chaos. Sometimes cropping and punching in just doesn't work, right? Like, and again, it just adds time on the back end. So again, for me, being somebody that is I would say a run and gun type content capturer, cinematographer, whatever. My triangle equation is centered around time, and usually I don't have very much. That's one of my biggest constraints, is like, I have 10 minutes with this particular talent to get everything I need to make 5 deliverables. And then everything is centered around that 5 minutes, because I really like to respect people's time. Where are we going from here? 42 minutes, 47 seconds of talking at a camera. I wish this episode was going to be more interesting, you guys. It's definitely, this is one of those things from a last minute perspective that it just has to be what it is. And if you love it, great. If you hate it, there are lots of other episodes on this podcast platform that you could listen to that are more interesting than hearing me blabber about not having enough time for a long time. But there it is. Anyway, what else could we talk about? I don't want to fill this up. This doesn't have to be an hour long. It could be a 30-minute episode. That would be fine. But the bottom line is, if I could, in closing, we're gonna wrap this up, because if I think there's enough valuable stuff here talking about last minute things, because I really just want to drive this point home to you guys to encourage you as creators. Again, is that you are in control. Be the one in control. In the midst of chaos, be the one that is in control of it all. That will set you apart as a professional more than just about any other thing ever. Because what are people, if they are in a state of chaos, people are looking for the people who are calm, cool, and collected, and they're looking to those people to take charge and to take lead. And that is your opportunity as a creator to really stand out. Also, to kind of reinforce that idea, is any of your work that if you ever get critiqued, right? If you ever have somebody like commenting or whatever, asking about aspects of your creative, whether it's a photo or whatever, or providing criticism or critique in a friendly or professional way, don't get into a habit of saying things happened by accident, right? Like let's say you took the best photo you ever took and it was totally like you just winged it. And it was like, boom. And somebody's like, oh, wow, that looks like you set it up and it took forever. And tell me about the process of capturing that photo. Don't lie. I mean, be honest. Be like, yeah, it was just like in the moment and I put my camera up and boom, and I captured it. But don't say it was accidental, because what, you set your settings. Those weren't set by accident, right? So like for my default camera settings are always kind of set in a, my ISO is always set at 100. My f-stop's usually almost always set at 6.5 or somewhere between 9 and whatever the minimum is. Shutter speed is always set at 1/200, and it's like those are set intentionally by default, because I know if I'm shooting in a daylight scenario, I'm going to be within probably plus or minus 2 stops of the correct exposure. I'm going to be within a shutter speed that's going to capture, like it won't capture a speeding bullet, obviously, and have it be sharp. But most human movements or motion that are just everyday are going to be sharp at 1/200 shutter speed. My ISO setting is going to, again, help with the correct exposure, but it's also going to limit, my noise floor is going to be really low. It's going to give me a good image. If I had to shoot off the cuff, like from the holster, boom, with those settings, I'm going to get a probably usable, correctly exposed, or within the boundary of my dynamic range of my sensor to be recoverable at those settings. That's not by accident. That's on purpose. All right. So whether it's in the moment or not, I'm still in control of the scenario, because I preset my camera settings to be ready to capture that magic moment. And then compositionally, like you train your eye for setting people on a third or wherever in the frame. And so that, again, also not by accident, it's experience. So just learn as you're presenting and promoting your work that nothing's by accident. Everything's on purpose. Everything's by design. You are the professional. You are in control of the scenario. And then don't be afraid to admit if it's bad, right? I'm not like, worst case scenario, if somebody's like, that's bad work. First off, if it's really bad work, you should not be posting it anywhere or delivering it. But if, I don't know, you are in control. You are the artist. You are the creator. It's kind of a black and white thing. And I guess if I could leave anybody with that, it would anything with you guys, it would be that. That's going to make you a professional. Not having a pro titled iPhone in your pocket. There you go, guys. That's the last minute episode. Threw that together. I have no idea if this is good for you or not, or valuable for you or not. I can sit down in front of a microphone and a camera, and I can talk and ramble on about all kinds of random stuff all day long. Whether or not it's fun to listen to, that I don't know. That you guys are going to just have to provide feedback and say, you know what, Josh, that really sucked and was terrible. Don't do that again. Or say, yeah, Josh, we want more of that. In which case, I got a lifetime of knowledge and a whole bunch of weird stories I can pull out of thin air. You guys, I've been doing this for a minute now. I've lived a lot of lifetimes, and I've got some weird ones, all of which can, pool into this weird conglomeration of who Joshua Best is at 1156 Productions and the Guns and Camera host and blah, 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 blah. End of that story. Anyway, so I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you found it useful, great. If not, well, then listen to a different episode because there's some good ones, especially like episode 32 featuring Josh Scott, Captain Redbeard. If you're into history and collecting really cool rare relics, that is a really fun episode. We talk a lot about some cool stuff, including old firearms. We also got some pretty important people. We had Justin Melnick on recently. We had Ben Smallbone on as well. We got some good ones in the lineup that I'm really stoked to get out to you guys. It's just, hopefully I can get to it. Also, if y'all are watching this at the very end, do me a huge solid. Like, share, subscribe, the Guns and Cameras podcast on all of our platforms. We are on Apple Podcasts. We're on Spotify. We are on YouTube. We are on Instagram. Go share us with your friends or don't or whatever. But if you do like what you hear, just give us some support. I would really appreciate it. Side note, we have a website, gunsandcameras.io. Go check that out. There's merch up there if you'd like to buy kind of crazy merch. I'm trying to make the merch better, more than just like dope logos on tees. But there's stickers there as well. If you are interested in participating at this point in the Guns and Camera Awards, that's something new we're trying to do for this year. Basically, the goal here is to celebrate the quality of work in our creative community. And that community involves gun content creators, outdoor adventure photographers, any of the people that might be shadow banned because of the rules, community guidelines or whatever. If your work's not being seen, we want to celebrate you and give you awards. And the awards are actually, if I might say, very cool. Like, check it out. Here's the gold award. It is a challenge coin. It's got the Griffin logo on it, and the back is supposed to look like the bottom of a shell casing. They put a hell of a lot of glitter in this coin, which, it is what it is. But they are super dope, and they are limited. There's only 130 of them. If you want to enter, go to the Guns and Camera Awards section on gunsandcameras.io and find out how to enter. It's really super easy. The first entry for everybody is free. Subsequent entries cost a small fee, but it gets you in for more stuff. Anywho, that's it. That's the end. Thanks for watching Guns and Cameras. Thanks for listening to Guns and Cameras. And stay tuned for more stuff coming up in the future. In the next probably 2 weeks from now, there's going to be a better episode than this one, I hope. But we'll just have to see. We're getting into holiday season. Hopefully I'm going to have some more time. I also have a full suite of like how-to videos I'm working on. We're going to do some more fun stuff. We're actually going to shoot some guns. That's the one thing about this channel that I'm like, it's called Guns and Cameras. And the one thing you don't see a lot of in a lot of these episodes is guns or cameras. So we're going to try to solve that problem with respect to the guns and camera stuff. But you guys are awesome. Stay safe, stay sane, and keep an eye out for some really cool content coming from all of us in the future. Y'all are the bomb. Have a great day.